You're also a guy who collects $13 million rare basketball cards. Can you talk a little bit about like being able to go for these pursuits that are out of the reach of a lot of people?
Yeah, you're speaking of the dual logo man Jordan-Kobe that I recently was involved in buying. But there's method to my madness. I'm always looking for a portion of my portfolio into alternative asset classes. And so I don't just jump into something like that on the whim of it. I did a lot of research first. I first was approached into this space by the guys at Fanatics. Michael Rubin, he came on to Shark Tank, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And another guy named Michael Mahan that I knew from ABC television years before. And they told me about collectibles, and I thought it was a joke. You know, I said, you guys paying money for cardboard? That's ridiculous. But I started doing some research into it because they were spending billions of dollars on this asset class. So that's serious money. Wow. Buying licenses and getting involved with the card makers and everything else. And I discovered something really interesting. This asset class, these tiny cards about this big, are actually no different than modern or contemporary art. They have the same growth metrics as an asset class that if you bought a Warhol back in the 60s, you'd be pretty happy today. But you have to buy an original Warhol, the best Warhol. And if you go back and look at the same with a Pollock or any of these modern or contemporary artists, if you bought prints or lesser works, you didn't do very well. But if you bought a piece unique, as we call it in the watch business, one of a kind, and that would be an original oil from a Pollock or a Warhol, those appreciated geometrically over time because they were unique, and collectors really started to go after them and sought them out. It turns out it's the same with sports cards. And so that Kobe that had that dual logo man, Jordan-Kobe, has a gold logo man right off his jersey in the card. It's the only one in the world. Wow. That's the equivalent of buying an original Pollock. And so, yes, people are surprised with the 12.932. That's exactly what we paid for.
Oh, okay, I rounded up, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay, but believe me, that's a lot of money. I remember exactly how much it was. But I'll never sell I'll never sell that card. I'll never sell that card. And I'll tell you something else about this space that I learned. You don't go into this without an advisor. You know, I don't need any help on watches, but I certainly am a newbie into collectibles on sports cards. And so I sought out the #1 guy in the world. His name is Shyne. Matt Allen is his actual name, but they know him in the hobby, as it's called, as Shyne. He is the #1 guy, period. And I called him up and I said, this is about 3 years ago, I said, Shyne, tell me about this space. And we got to know each other a little bit. And I knew on this particular dual logo man, he wanted to buy it. I thought, why compete with the #1 guy? Why not form a syndicate together? I said, Shyne, let's partner up. And one of my other business partners, Paul Warshaw, the three of us formed a strategy, a syndicate for that auction night. We were up at 3 a.m. My wife came to visit me about 1 o'clock, said, all three of you are crazy. You're out of your minds. And by then the bidding was at $8 million. She was saying, what are you, nuts? This is a piece of cardboard. I've already heard this 1,000 times. We didn't win that card till 3:30 in the morning. Shyne was in, I think, Spain. Warshaw was in Miami. And so we were in sync together on a Zoom call, strategizing and moving. The next morning, the world exploded when they figured out, I was part of the buying group, and that's the story.